Hello. Today's question is, how do we use at, on, or in to talk about place? This is English Tips, and I am Glenda. We can use at, on, and in to talk about place, but this can be a little confusing sometimes. What's today's tip? As usual, you need to try to learn them in key phrases by categories. This is going to help you remember better. Let's start. First, look at these examples. We have students spend a lot of time at the library. What's the activity we are talking about here? Well, what do you do at the library? You study. I was at the movies when you called me. What do you usually do at the movies? Obviously, you watch a movie. So in this context, when we use at to talk about places, we are emphasizing the activity as something more important than the place itself. Now, another use of at is in common phrases like, let's meet at the concert, the teacher was at the lecture, at a party, at the match, at a meeting. What do these expressions have in common? What kind of places are these? Well, places where you do group activities. So in those cases, we also use at. Another use is with special expressions, such as at home, they're at work, she's still at school, and that is at church. These are very common places, and we use at to talk about them. Now, let's move on to using in. I grew up in Argentina. Let's take a hike in the mountains. Here, we're emphasizing a place inside a large area. Okay? So that's the use of in here. Another use is in phrases like, I didn't see him in the office. He lives in an apartment. In this case, we are talking about places that are surrounded on all sides, like we have on the picture below here. And we also have some special expressions within. Look at the stars in the sky. They're playing in the rain. We slept in a tent. Collect the money in a hat. The kids are already in bed. Now, let's see the contrast of using at and in these examples. First, we have he works at Macy's. What's Macy's? Well, this is a very well-known department store in the US. So if we are talking about the place specifically and using the name of the place, we use at. But if we talk about the place in general, he works in a department store, we are going to use in. Another contrast. Let's say we are taking a trip and we say, well, we'll stop at Mexico City. That means that at some point on the road, we'll stop there. Now, in the second example, we live in Mexico City. We are referring to the permanent location, so we use in. The word on, the preposition on. Here we find it on phrases referring to a surface. For example, on the balcony. Put it on the floor. Let's have breakfast on the terrace. On the roof. On the wall. Also, when we talk about transportation, we use on. For example, I'm on the bus. I'll arrive on the 6 o'clock train. We're booked on flight 657. Now, if we talk about addresses, things might vary a little. When you give the exact location, exact address, we use at. We live at 102 Maple Street. If you talk only about the street, you use in. I live in Abbey Street. But if you talk about the floor in an apartment building, for example, you would say something like, they live in flat 3 on the first floor. I really hope this tutorial was useful. If you think so, please share. Our next video will be on add on and in, but when we talk about time, I think it'll be very useful to you as well. See you next time.